Hi, everyone. It's Amanda Rieger Green with Chris Reber and Soul Pathology. We are here today to discuss the transition from August into September and the overview of the numerological and astrological energies that we have coming up in the month ahead. It's a capstone month in numerology. And if you don't know much about numerology, what that essentially means is we are in a 5 year in numerology. 2021 is a 5 year, 2 + 0 + 2 + 1 = 5. And September is the ninth month of the year. And when you add 9 + 5, that equals 14. And it reduces down to 5. 1 + 4 = 5. So we are in a 5 month in a 5 universal year. And what that means is the energies of the 5 culminate. And the 5 is all about unpredictability, dynamic shifts and changes. It's ultimately the freedom seeker, the rebel rouser. It ends up in the right place at the right time, especially when it doesn't succumb to drama, when it avoids gossip, when it avoids drama seeking behaviors, when it gets out of its fear and moves into fearlessness. So if there's any kind of theme for this month on a numerological basis, it's what fears are coming your way? Where are you consumed in fear? What's scaring you? What is keeping you playing small? What is holding you back? What's keeping you in your shell? And really being able to acknowledge that personally so you can move from a space of fear into fearlessness and embrace adventure, embrace new horizons. And is that easy? Heck freaking no. Like and Chris knows. Chris is a 5. If you've been watching us, Chris has a 5 energy, and he can speak to this, and he knows. And because we've talked about this, when you get into that place of fear, we have all sorts of reactive behaviors. We go into our low vibes. We project onto other people. We distract with drama. We do those ego-based things that keep us in a very limited, restricted energy. And the 5 is really asking us to be bold, to take a risk, to step outside of the box, follow your heart's desires, and do it with fearlessness, trusting that the universe will catch you. Big stuff, right? What do you
Yeah,
think about that?
it's very big stuff. And yeah, that feels like my whole life this entire year. So it's still going, and it's probably the way it's going to be for a long time, but I'm here for the ride.
Well, and you know what? And we all are. We're all in this together. And what's interesting is in August we were in a 4 month, and the 4 really is indicative of what 2020 was like. It was a year of restriction, putting your head down, putting one foot in front of the other, reprioritizing what was of quality, what built a solid foundation. It was more about survival. And this year, it's where the rubber meets the road. Once you've reprioritized and built a new foundation, how are you expressing that in the world? And how are you still living in old, outdated belief systems, behaviors, environments, relationships, whatever it may be? So for me personally, in August, some old stuff that had been culminating over the past year that my heart wasn't in, and my energy wasn't in, and my drive wasn't in. I made some drastic decisions to clean house, and the 4 is about cleaning house. And I said, this scares me to death, but I know if I don't do it, then I'm not going to be happy, and I'm not going to feel like I'm showing up in integrity. So I'm going to clean house, and I'm going to practice what I'm preaching, and really embrace some new horizons so I can make shifts and changes for the months ahead. So, scares me to death, but as soon as I made that decision, there was this element of spaciousness and freedom that opened up, because it was like, okay, I don't have to do this anymore. Nobody's going to be mad at me. Nobody's going to fuss at me. We play small. I play small in my head. And once I made that decision, I don't want to do these few things anymore. They're not effective. They're not a great use of my energy. Here's where my heart is. Here's where my inspiration and passion is. Here's how I show up in value. Okay, I'm ready to let this go. And as soon as I did that, boom, 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 some new doors started opening, new creativity was coming in. I had more focus and drive. I mean, all of a sudden, I started to feel momentum. I mean, am I still feeling a little fear and anxiousness and anxiety? Hell yes. But
Mhm.
but it's a process, it's part of the journey. So I would really encourage everyone to, as you move into September, really look at what is limiting you, what's keeping you in a state of not only fear, but where your passions no longer exist, where they've expired, where your desires and passions and your energy doesn't really feel sustainable, exciting, adventurous, or enlivening. That's the big play.
Yeah, and I would say, just to remind everyone too, the major theme that we are working with is this Saturn square to Uranus. And Saturn is the planet
Yeah.
of restriction and limitation, and Uranus is about innovation and the future. So the major thing we're all working with is, again, like you said, like, where are you playing small, Saturn? Where are you safe? What are you trying to control in your
Right.
little box? And where do you want to go? And it's this balance of, do I go back to what is comfortable? Do I stay within the limits of what is safe? Or do I take a risk and a leap of faith towards the future, because that's where my passion is, that's where my heart is pulling me. And I see this a lot with clients and friends. We're all being asked in our own ways, do we go back to the way that things were, or do we carve a new path for the future?
Yeah. And then that goes back to the Aquarian theme that we're all experiencing this year, with so much air energy being triggered with the North Node in Gemini, Aquarius, and Uranus really, really charging forward this year in various dialogues and conversations. And then, of course, all three Mercury retrogrades, which we have one coming up at the end of the month. And Chris and I will do a separate video. No stress on Mercury retrograde yet. Don't get ahead of yourself. But it's at the end of the month, so we'll give you a separate video for that. But all three Mercury retrogrades, Mercury ruling the mind, our thoughts, our conversations, day-to-day interactions, and our intellectual processes, all three retrogrades are in the three air signs. We had the first one in Gemini, this one will be in Libra, and the last one will be in Aquarius.
Or the
Right?
first one,
No,
first one
the
was
first one was
Aquarius.
in Aquarius. Then
Mhm.
we had Gemini. Now this will be the last one in Libra. Yes?
Yes.
Okay. Sorry.
Yeah.
Mix it up. So, to Chris, talk a little bit about some of the overarching themes in the astrology for September.
So, as far as the month of September, when I was pulling the forecast, there's a lot of Venusian energy. There's a lot of transits to Venus or by Venus. There's also a lot of Mercury energy too. And so the overall themes relate a lot to our personal connections with romance and dating, our friendships and how we connect platonically. And there's a lot of opportunities for shifting the ways that we relate to other people in the month of September. It's also, there's a lot of opportunity for upgrading or up leveling your relationship to money. And I have a feeling that September is going to bring a lot of fear of scarcity for a lot of people. There's going to be these old fears of, I don't have enough, or I'm not making enough to support my life wherever you are. And so there will be moments of confrontation, and then that fear is going to strike you. But then there's also going to be a lot of support and healing towards, okay, I am enough, I have enough, and kind of healing those old wounds. Because I know, like, me personally, I have a lot of inherited financial fear that is always kind of in the back burner that I'm always processing and working through. So for those of you who are also working with that, September is a major month for really breaking through those self-limitations and those barriers.
I think, and that makes so much sense too, in terms of, I love that love and money are coming up, and the Mercurian and Venusian themes, because Mercury rules Virgo, the sun is in Virgo at the beginning of the month. And then we have the equinox where, we move, fall in the northern hemisphere, spring in the southern hemisphere, where the sun moves into Libra, which is ruled by Venus. So the sun is illuminating that energy in those ruling planets. And then we have transits happening and activations. And Venus, of course, rules relationships, money, love, all of those things, and also value. That's more the Taurus end of Venus, but it comes back to an inner sense of safety, security, and value. And then there's the dialogue with the 5 that is about uncertainty, unpredictability, becoming flexible, and having faith rather than fear. Are you running towards fear or faith? It's the spectrum: fear or love, fear or faith. There's lots of dichotomy, and it's giving us opportunities to really see where we shut down in fear, insecurity, or where we want to stay safe and play comfortable because it's the devil, yet at the same time, when sometimes we need to play. Sometimes we need that introverted, quiet, internal time to really get clear and to clean house, which Virgo helps us to do, by the way. But also it's about taking practical action and listening to the desires that are bubbling up. And of course, with the mercurial energy, the mind will be active in talking to you, your internal voice, in terms of what's of interest, what's piquing your curiosity. So yeah, I think it'll be a very active month. And I do think there will be lots of triggers financially in relationships, in terms of what has outlived its purpose, its meaning, expiration dates. And it's really been a year for that in general. I've felt that and experienced that, where I feel like there's been some exponential growth on my part, and some real revelations, some painful, some enlightening, in terms of, wow, okay, this relationship has shifted and I'm okay with that. And I want to do it in integrity for me and also for the other person, so it feels validating, honest, and secure, but also to heal, because grief comes up around that as well, and processing grief. So it feels like there's lots of layers that we'll be shedding this month in order to excavate space for new horizons.
Yeah. And I really love your point about like the spectrum of fear and faith. And one of my favorite astrologers, Jessica Lanyadoo, I adore her. She has a wonderful podcast and a book out. But one thing that she said that really struck me, because, I feel like a lot of us struggle with faith. She said, faith is the investment in what can't be proven. And it's only when you don't have faith, that's when you have to take that risk. And you take the leap, right? Of I don't know what this thing is or what it's going to bring me, but I just have to try. I just have to go for it, because I don't really have any other choice, if I don't do anything, I'm in this position I am. But if I do this, or I have a leap of faith here, it could open up a whole world of possibilities that I can't even imagine.
Absolutely. And it requires trust, and trusting that you will be supported. I will be supported. We will be supported no matter what. And being able to ask for support, ask for help in those transitions, taking that leap, but not feeling alone. And whether it's from support from your higher self or your higher power, or trusted advisors and friends, being able to share those fears and share the risk taking when you're ready. And I would give one piece of advice around the fearlessness piece and the risk taking and the leaps of faith. I've heard this said many times, and I've experienced it on my own, and I've experienced it on the low vibe and challenging, and I've had backlash of it. When you are moving towards a place of your soul's calling or your soul's longing, a new vision, a new direction, really summoning that fearlessness, but also that belief in yourself and because oftentimes we can share those longings and inner desires and calls from the soul, and we share them with someone else and they may discourage us. You and I were just talking about that on the call before, where you shared something with someone and the response was a bit lackluster, and it was something that you felt very convicted and excited about. And then even though you felt that you were in a confident place about that decision, and I agree with your decision because it feels very whole to me, but one person can say something and it can trigger us back into that space of, oh shoot, am I making the right decision? Am I doing this? Oh gosh, what do they think of me? Because we're built that way for external circumstances, people's expressions and opinions to predicate or indicate our sense of security and our own truth. So being mindful of who your confidants are when you share that information, and really knowing that they're in a vibrational space or match to support you in that or offer wise counsel, versus someone, it's kind of like looking for relationship advice from someone who has a history of extremely rocky relationships. I mean, or looking for financial advice from someone who doesn't have their finances together. That's not who you ask for support from.
Yeah.
So, and it doesn't mean that, we don't lean on our friends, but being mindful of who your spiritual, your personal, your rational, practical, and objective support system is that really wants to hold space for you in some of the decision making and the leaps of faith. So, and especially as we move into Libra season 2, and it's all about relationships, connections. So, okay, so let's talk a little bit about a few of the transits that we want to highlight in the month, and I'm going to let you take over there. We are going to do a separate new moon video. There is a new moon in Virgo on the 6th of the month, and it has some special aspects that are happening alongside of it. So we'll be doing a separate video for that, but mark your calendars that the 6th is the Virgo new moon, and Virgo new moons just in general are great times for setting new health and wellness routines, cleaning house, practical action, and also being of service. So we'll dive into that deeper in a separate video, but just mark your calendars for that.
Yeah, so let's start with the kicking off the month with the Mars opposition to Neptune, just because on September 2nd, Mars is going to oppose Neptune, and this is where the double 5 energy comes in, where it's probably going to be very unstable. Mars and Neptune, it is dissociative. It often brings up body dysmorphia or just kind of not feeling embodied, not feeling grounded. So, that's the beginning of the month. It kind of creates this, not erratic, but it's just this anxiety. Neptune energy is anxiety, but it's dissociative and it's spacey, and you kind of feel off, right? So, but that doesn't set the tone, right? Because then the next couple of days we have September 4th, Mercury trying to Saturn, which this is a lovely transit. Mercury is the mind, cognition. Mercury also represents our friendships and platonic relationships. And this transit, it ushers this healthy and grounded conversations, and it lays really good, solid foundations for new connections. And this is that right time, right place kind of energy. So you put yourself out there, right? You're not going to meet people if you're stuck in your house, right? And I know, again, pandemic, be safe, be practical about the ways that you're engaging with people. But This is a really prime opportunity for expanding your social networks and how those connections could lead you to greater opportunities and greater abundance. It's also really good for business owners because Mercury rules merchants. So if you are starting a new business or you have an idea for a new business, this is going to be a time for laying out the plans or writing the blueprint, creating a structure for your business model, your plan, like
Yeah.
what is it that you want to do. So
All
yeah.
of this is so exciting to me because I'm like, yes. And I even think about, that being a great time to send a few intentional emails out to people that you've maybe been wanting to connect with, or even going outside your box a little bit that feels like maybe a stretch of a connection. Because the 5 energy says fearlessness, take a risk, put yourself out there. What's the worst they can do is not respond, and then it's like, do it without any kind of attachments. Shoot out 2 or 3 intentional emails that are connecting to you to new genres or outlets, to grow and harness your business, your connections, your collaborations, whatever that may be. I think that is great wisdom, and I'm marking that on the calendar as we speak to do it. I'm like, do it. And it's so Virgo and it's so practical. So it's like, you can proficiently, effectively communicate, knock it out, succinctly, and just reach out and say, hey, let's collaborate. Here's what I'm offering. Here's what I'm thinking. Reach back out if you're interested. So DM, slip into somebody's DM.
Exactly. No, that's a perfect time
Yeah.
to slip into someone's DMs. And I have
Yeah.
something like I've already got it lined up and ready. So
I don't even know if we should get into it because we might get beyond like PG-13 into R or something even beyond. So I mean we can't even go there, but go there.
Well,
go there.
And so around that same time, and again, all these transits, they're exact on the days, but you have a couple of days to work with them. A little before, and then a couple of days after. So don't feel like I missed it if I didn't do it on that date. And then, a couple of days later, September 6th, which is going to be the new moon, the sun will trine Uranus. So there's a lot of trine energy. And just a recap for people who are unfamiliar with trines. Trines is a 120-degree angle between planets. And that kind of conversation facilitates flow and harmony and balance. But it requires intention and effort in order to access it. So again, this is where you have to put yourself in the position, you have to reach, and you have to, you have to slide into people's DMs. You have to start the conversation in order to use that energy to its potential. And Sun trying to Uranus, it puts you in a position of like freedom, because Uranus is all about liberation and freedom. And again, there's that 5 energy. So if you've been feeling stuck, Sun trine to Uranus is the perfect opportunity for pushing past stagnation, pushing past those roadblocks. This could be mental stuff too, right? This could be outdated belief systems and things that you've really held on to that have held you back from pushing forward, from carving a new path, from putting yourself in a position that is unfamiliar. Because again, Uranian energy, it's unconventional and it's unfamiliar to the masses. So if there's something that you've been wanting to do and you've been scared, September 6th is going to be probably the best time to do it. And you have the new moon on your side to do it.
100%. And, of course, when I think of trines, I think of the numerology code of the trine. It's 120 degrees. So 1 is the individual, 2 is relationships and the partnership. So I make the decision in my individuality, in my truth. I pioneer something. I reach out to someone and connect. The energy of the 2 heads is better than 1. And guess what? 1 + 2 = 3. which is the energy of communication, creativity, and creating something. And then you have the 0 of the 120, which is the amplifier, the great magnifier, the great equalizer. So it's all, the numerology aligns exactly with what you just articulated. What's my longing? What's out of my comfort zone? Who can I connect with? How can I communicate? How can I push the envelope and the edge a bit?
Yeah, it's some beautiful stuff. And I feel like
Yeah.
we've been thirsty for this for so long because the last couple of months have just been
That's
so
what I was just
overwhelming.
thinking. We're thirsty for some freaking breakthroughs or opportunities, new life, revitalization. And is it going to just come with ease and, come together fluidly? No, because the energy of the 5 and the numerology, it's going to create some challenges, because when we have breakthroughs, we're going to have those little moments of insecurity or breakdowns or plans shift or something drops off, or you ask for a new contract and somebody cancels the other contract you're working with. And so instead of saying maybe that's a blessing, maybe that needed to go in order to invent and create new space for this and what else is to come.
Yeah, and
So
the 5 energy, again, for people who are unfamiliar with it, it is about being malleable and flexible and not getting caught up on, oh my God, it didn't work out the way I wanted it to, or, again, like you're talking about contracts falling through. You quickly just have to reposition it as, okay, it just wasn't meant to be, on to the next. Like you just have to go with the flow, roll with the punches. That's the 5 energy. Just keep it moving.
Keep it moving. So as we move beyond that, as we move after the Virgo new moon, then we've got, I know that Mercury opposes Chiron. And so that's a bit of a different energy when Chiron starts to get into the mix, because that's deeper wounds and deeper healing, and Mercury being, of the mind. And so the recognition of those deeper wounds and healing. But it's because that's an opposition, and you always talk about oppositions playing out through, usually being reflected through the other, reflected back through an environment or an interaction. How do you interpret that and see that playing out?
So immediately what comes to mind is painful conversations. That's I know it's the
like,
things that it's the things
it's like
that
the Libra in me is like,
I know it's the things that we have been wanting to say, but we haven't had the courage to say them. And so again, Chiron is about healing, and similar to Pluto, it often facilitates that through intensity or pain or just old wounds. So this date, again, the opposition, it does usually play out between you and another person. And so be prepared for someone either confronting you or presenting something that doesn't feel really good. Maybe they present a way that you've been treating them, or how they've perceived how your actions have affected them. And so just be really compassionate around this time with yourself and with other people, because it's likely to stir up anxiety as well, because Mercury being the mind, there can be some frenetic, anxious energy to this.
right.
But again, it's ultimately for clearing the things that you've needed to say to get off your chest, so that you can be free. There's that 5, there's that liberation.
Yeah, the liberation and the fearlessness, summoning the courage to really say what you need to say. Okay, thanks, John Mayer. Yeah. So then we've got Venus that will move from Libra, its home sign, into Scorpio. Totally different energy with Venus there. Lots of passion, lots of intensity, a little possessiveness, a little sexiness, a little maybe taboo.
Yeah.
All the things, a little fearless sexual exploration maybe looming there, I might say.
Well, my Venus is in Scorpio, so I'm excited for this one.
Of course you are. Of course you are. And it's one of the things that I admire about you and sometimes live vicariously through, in terms of you being able to express yourself and be really comfortable in that place. And so, what advice would you give to people during this time, especially, let's say, people who are in relationships? Because
Mm,
it can be an intense time if you are partnered, if you're married, if you're coupled up. What advice would you give to people who are in a relationship?
that's a really good question. So Venus in Scorpio, very okay. So Venus in Libra, it's home, right? It's strong, it's exalted. When Venus goes into Scorpio, technically it's in detriment because
Right.
it's the opposite of Taurus. For those who really study astrology, just there's that little tidbit. So
Yeah.
it's debilitated, it's weak, but I don't believe in weakness for any planet or position. It's more about just what
Nor
it's
do
bringing
I.
up for you. So
Right.
Scorpio energy, for those that are coupled, it's going to bring up compulsions and intimacy issues. It's going to bring up the secrets. Okay, so like secrets you can arise if there's anything you've been hiding from your partner. This is going to be a time to address
Jealousy.
jealousy. Yes, jealousy, infidelity. Those types of things are very common with like Scorpio energy. But because it's Venus, ultimately we're trying to find balance or harmonize it. And so again, there is potential for healing. And the Scorpio energy being, ruled by Pluto, there's that same emphasis on
Yes.
healing and breaking through the things that have weighed you down. It's really about excavating, going into the depths, going into that darkness of what are you scared of? I would ask people in their relationships, like, what am I scared to either like address with my partner? Is there something that I want in this relationship, but I'm too afraid to ask for it? That would be a really good time to bring it up in conversation, because I think you would find your partner would also be on the same wavelength and they would be more accepting or willing to meet you halfway.
And there again is the five energy of, recognizing the fear and embracing the fearlessness, the boldness, taking a leap of faith, embarking on a new horizon and opening new and engaging dialogue for sure.
Yeah. And paranoia
Okay, so
also. So one more thing.
paranoia. Yeah,
Paranoia is
bring it
really
up.
common. So if you find yourself kind of stewing or brooding on a situation, something that your partner did, or maybe it's a crush too, right? So maybe you have a crush on someone and you're just like, I can't get them out of my head. Take a step back, pause, and be like, okay, stop romanticizing, stop idealizing this person, because Scorpio energy being fixed water, fixed emotion, it's really compulsive and obsessive. And when it gets in that energy, it's really hard to come out of it. So use your tools, pause, reflect, take a step back, and just again know that whatever's coming up for you, it's because you're supposed to process it. You're supposed to purge it. Again, Pluto, Scorpio, it's about purging. What can I let go of?
Absolutely. Okay, so moving on, we have a few things that are happening after that. We've got the sun opposite Neptune, Mars will move into Libra, the sun trines Pluto, Venus squares Saturn. So it's like we got a bam, bam, bam of stuff happening. And so we've got Neptune again coming back into the energy field that's going to be dissolving some energies, and where the sun is so practical in Virgo and wants to take practical action and its routines. It's almost like Neptune again is coming in and saying, okay, you may not feel clear and practical. You actually may get lost in analysis paralysis. You might get a little
Mhm.
delusional. So it's almost like that repeat to me of what we talked about in the beginning of the month. You might
Mhm.
get a little hazy, and what we have going on in between now and then, there's a lot of momentum there. So it's almost like, okay, step back, take a minute, take a breath.
Mhm.
because you may not feel clear, and you may take actions that you might end up having to amend,
Yeah.
or do rework around.
Sun, whenever Neptune's involved, it's a really good time to implement energetic practices. So whether this is yoga, breath work, meditation, it's about indulging in the realms of Neptune so that you can quell whatever anxieties arise for you during that time. And the
Right.
sun representing one's identity and sense of self, this Neptune challenges that. So whatever version of yourself that you have been creating and is stepping out, I feel like there's a lot of people who they're letting go of this outdated version of themselves. And around September 14th, this opposition, it's going to muddle things. It's going to make things unclear.
Yeah.
The purpose of that is so that you go inside and you are able to get clear, right? It's not about relying on validation from others. It's not about relying on what the outside world is telling you. It's about what's in here. What are your needs in that moment in time for that version of yourself that you've created? Because Neptune transits, they always distort things. And the purpose is always to make things unclear so that we have to put extra energy in understanding what it is that we want. Where is our motivations coming from? Where is our drive? Where should we pour our energy? Oftentimes it's going to highlight the ways that we're doing the opposite. Like, where am I siphoning my energy? Where is it all going?
And you know that I am very familiar with this and have been for the last year, and it will go into a little bit of 2022 where I've had some, a major point in my life where I've had major Neptune aspects. My natal Neptune has been interacting with Neptune in the sky in some pretty intense ways, and because Neptune moves so darn slow, that
Mm,
it's a 2-year transit, and it's been very difficult for me because I'll feel bouts of clarity and momentum, and then I'll feel foggy and hazy. But what's been beautiful about it is really I've had a consciousness shift and expansion in timelines and multidimensional time and past and present, future lifetimes. I mean, so it's given me the ability to really, really do a lot of multidimensional consciousness shifts and upgrades. But then the ego version of me, the Amanda version of me, sometimes says, I'm not doing enough. I'm not clear. I'm not present. I don't have my direction and my motivation. And so I've learned, and of course, there goes back to the Libra, I've learned to balance out that creativity in that time that I don't feel clear and present, and use that for meditation, use it for dreamy time, use it to, find a little bit of escapism in a healthy way, just to be able to recoup, relax, and also open myself up to new download shifts and upgrades.
mhm.
So, okay,
Everyone is
take us through. Go ahead. What you were going to
well,
say?
everyone is always so scared of Neptune energy, but if you really embrace it, it can be a really beautiful thing. It can really level you up, expand consciousness, like you said. It can
Yeah,
heighten one's intuition and psychic gifts. There's a lot of
yeah.
potential for working with Neptune. So I don't want people to be scared of Neptune.
No, not at all. And it's really about shifts in consciousness and upgrades and the collective and tapping into universal consciousness and oneness. I mean, there's so much to it. Okay, so take us through give us the overview of the next few days with Mars entering Libra, the Sun trining Pluto, and Venus squaring Saturn.
Yeah. So, okay, Mars entering Libra. This is going to be, again, this puts emphasis on relationships because there's that Libra energy. So, um, aligning your actions, your intentions, your passions and efforts, that's Mars, and how it shows up in your personal relationships. And this could be business contracts and relationships. This could be personal. This could also be friendships as well. So Mars is giving us a little fire. It's giving us some oomph to address things that need to be addressed, make new connections, or facilitate endings where they're appropriate. And then that Venus square to Saturn on the 17th is also a challenge to one's personal connections and relationships. So, you know, I have a feeling this month there is going to be some fallout with some people that you just no longer associate with. There's going to be some endings. And the thing is, the more that we hold on to them or we cling to them, again, this is how we, that Saturn Uranus square, it's like, how do we remain small? How are we staying in the old? And so I want people to embrace surrender. That's going to be the key here, is finding a little bit more surrender and a little bit more ease and softness when it comes to things leaving you. Because September, there is going to be a lot of opportunity for endings and leavings. Now, again, Saturn square to Venus, it's about managing one's money. So you might have an unexpected bill or something you have to pay out of pocket around this date. Just do it, right? This is like taxes kind of energy, right? Saturn and Venus, it's always about like budgeting and getting things in order. But throughout the end of the month, there is going to be some Jupiter energy that's going to help you with whatever kind of comes up around this date. Sun trine to Pluto, that's a lovely transit. That puts you in a position of power, because Pluto is all about power plays and power grabs. Now, I will caution people to be careful about how they exert their own personal power, because this can put you in the right place at the right time, but you have to be careful with how you're coming across, because that Pluto energy is very demanding. It's very overwhelming to people who are not used to Pluto energy, right? You can also find a lot of healing and transformational kinds of energies entering your life. So again, if you've been stuck on something, so say like you had a falling out with a friend and it's finally like, this is the end, Pluto trine the sun, it allows you to find reconciliation. It allows you to find healing around whatever that instance was.
And forgiveness, you know, forgiveness of self, forgiving the other. So dropping the rock, you know, whatever you've got in your backpack, dropping a rock out of that backpack that really is weighing you down or weighing that other person down. So it's about the reciprocity of it. It goes two ways. And that energy that you are experiencing, it reverberates out into the cosmos. So when you are in turmoil or dis-ease, you know, that's what you're transmitting. And so whether it's within yourself or it is directed to someone else, either way, it's creating a vibration that is in dis-ease rather than creating a reciprocity and a balance. So really looking at power and turning it into empowerment and clarity. I think that's beautiful. So on the 20th, Mercury will trine Jupiter. That's a good vibe. Lord have mercy. That's a great one, I think. I'm like straight up, I'm all about it.
On my paper, I put like kiki, like, you know, have a kiki or just like a gathering, because it's a very social.
I'm like, what's a kiki? What the heck is a kiki? I'm like, you get me up to speed, Melanie. What's a kiki?
It's like a gay word that we use for like gays getting together. It's like, let's have a kiki. So
okay, I need a kiki. Like, okay, fine, all right. On the 20th, like, okay, it's like I'm up for it. Okay, so have a kiki. I love it.
It's party
good deal. Okay, so good time, party time, gathering, connecting with that, like you said, mercurial energy and Jupiter expanding things, just kind of, and joy. You know, Jupiter brings joy, and we can all use a little bit of that. And you know, the 5 energy, apart from it being dynamic and freedom seeking, it also has an element of joy and optimism that comes with it. And so when you feel it, experience it and share it. Share the joy. Pay it forward too. It's a great time, I'd say, to pay something forward, you know, like put a little good juju out there, you know, without anybody knowing about it. Just you and, you know, you and your higher self, buy someone's coffee in line, send someone an anonymous gift that you care about,
Or a
and just keep it to
message.
yourself.
Yeah,
Or a
send a nice
message.
message to someone about how much they mean to you. Like that's
Right.
kind of Jupiterian energy that you could embrace. And also Mercury governs texting and social media. So like it's
Yeah.
connect to people that you've been wanting to reach out to for a while. That's also the date of the full moon. So things are going to be heightened. There's an illumination to emotions and those types of themes. So this again, it reminds me of the last full moon we kind of had, because I think we had a similar Jupiter kind of energy. This is
Yes.
unexpected or serendipitous unions and meetings and just unexpected events. Like just, when it's good, go with it and don't like, I feel like people guilt themselves about having fun a lot. Like you said, like when you're having fun,
Yeah.
revel in it, enjoy it, and don't be like, oh, I
Enjoy
have to
it.
post
Notice it.
this.
And also I always share this with people and clients, and I work to embody and practice this actively, consciously myself, is when I feel enjoyment, when I feel happiness, gratitude, whatever I'm experiencing. And it doesn't matter if I'm in a crowded room with people, or it's one to one, or I'm having a moment, or I'm giggling at some Netflix show I'm watching and it's lighthearted and uplifting. However that is facilitated, when I notice a high vibrational feeling, I breathe it in and I say, may I experience this in all aspects of my life, and reverberate it out into the energy field. And it's like as quick as that. And then I go back to whatever I was engaged in. So it's a dissociation or a detachment where I have a dialogue, I embody it, I embrace it, I harness it, and then I go back into the present moment and keep on keeping on with the party or the sentiment.
Mm-hmm.
Um, okay, so we have the full moon that happens again. Like we said, we'll do a full moon video. This is a full moon in Pisces, which of course is the opposition of Virgo. And the Virgo Pisces axiom is about health and wellness on a literal, physical, corporeal basis, as well as on a spiritual basis. And Pisces evokes the spiritual piece of things. And a full moon in Pisces to me is a very psychic full moon. It can be a little delusional. It can be a bit depressive or intense. It can be heightened. There is a lot of emotionality and psychic energy that is charged there that Chris and I will go into in a separate video. But just know that that is occurring at that time as well.
Yeah.
So yeah. And then next we have, this is basically the transition into the second half of the month, because we will have the equinox and the sun moving into Libra. And that is on the 22nd. And so when we have the equinox, and of course in the northern hemisphere, it's the fall, so it's a transition of season, and it's when we have the longest and the shortest days of the year. So it's a time of, since ancient times, there's a bit of a thinning of the veil between the worlds. It's a beautiful time for rituals. It's a beautiful time for meditation and intentions and celebration, oftentimes, but celebrating the transition of seasons. And as we move into the fall, we move more into an incubated, introverted space as we prepare for winter. So the equinox is, to me, an important juncture, whichever equinox it is, because it triggers a very, very heightened fissure or portal in time where psychic downloads and upgrades and all sorts of things can occur.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Sun enter, like Libras, it's our solar return, so birthdays come in. And for and this is a little side, for all solar returns, it's not uncommon the month before your birthday to feel drained or depleted, because as the sun comes to return, it's like it's a closing of a cycle of whatever started the last birthday. Our birthday is always our own personal new year. And so, you know, for anyone, whenever you're tracking this stuff, notice your energy cycle the month before your birthday, even like the couple of weeks leading up to it. And then when the sun returns, it's this revitalization and this clarity of, okay, on to the next cycle. New, fresh energy is ushered in. So I'm personally excited because I'm a Libra and you're a Libra. So
Me too.
new cycles. Let's go.
New cycles. Let's do it. And the other thing that I experience personally and I see in clients repeatedly is those 4 to 6 months prior to your solar return, lessons come up for review. So anything that you have worked on, that you have moved through, areas in which you maybe have, swept under the rug or not addressed, or maybe fallen a little bit short in your growth or evolution. And there's nothing, again, right or wrong, positive or negative to that. There are triggers that come up as little test opportunities to say, hey, did you really learn this? Did you really solidify or crystallize this into wisdom? Mm-hmm. So just know that for me, I always have a few tests: test of faith, test of whatever it may be that has been culminating and experiencing as I migrate through the solar return in the year prior. So yes, that's a great, and the depletion is real, and so giving yourself self-care, space not to feel 100% inspired, motivated. It's okay to show up, to do well, to do a good job, to be accountable to obligations and agreements, but to also give yourself time and space and downtime, Libras, or any sign as the sun enters, your solar sign. Mm-hmm. So what we're going to do here is we are going to close things out, and we will come back for the second half of the month, because we have given you a lot to think about. And I think there are some great transits and energy that occurs in the remainder of the month when, of course, we have the full moon, and we'll do a separate full moon video. And we will also do a separate Mercury retrograde video. But I think we'll hit on the last capstones of the energy for the month in a second video, because we've given you a lot. And I feel like it's going to be intense and shift and change. And so Chris and I will record that at a later date, especially as we've moved through some of the energies and what we're experiencing personally and through our client interactions and seeing in the collective. Mm-hmm. So anything else you want to close on in terms of, this first 2 quarters of the month? That's about what we've done. Or 2/3, sorry, 2/3.
No, I mean, I think it's a really perfect month for just closing chapters that we've been really resistant to for a while, the final period on the sentence of, okay, this is what I need to do, this is where I'm going, this is how I'm moving forward. And I think I actually think there's going to be a lot more ease than we've experienced the last 2 months prior.
I agree too. I think there will be shifts and changes, but I think ultimately embracing some of our heart's desires, moving from fear to faith, and embracing some new horizons is going to create relief. It's going to create greater freedom and a bit of spaciousness to really have new, bolder visions and potentially new clarity. Mm-hmm. So thank you for joining all of us. We look forward to seeing you in some upcoming videos. And just remember, we will be following up with the Virgo new moon that is on the 6th of September. More to come. Take care, everyone.
Bye.